This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also for the most part unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 141st time, we are live on the Reviewing Network Studios. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Reviewing Network Live on this Mother's Day 2026. Now, the Mother's Day has come and gone. Hope you folks out there got to celebrate with your mothers. I know I certainly got to celebrate with mine. Had the family over here. We had a good time. And now we wait for the next big holiday, which will be likely Memorial Day weekend. And then after that, of course, Father's Day, 4th of July, and then so on and so forth. So, no real pleasantries other than that, but let's get right to it. It was not a particularly busy week for news in general. Unlike last week, there is stuff worth talking about. A couple of projects coming up from Disney, a new Hocus Pocus movie, a new Planet of the Apes movie with the director of the Fantastic Four, a remake of the Highway to Heaven TV series from the 1980s, and a movie starring Deathstroke and Bane, which had been in talks for a while now, but apparently is getting close to becoming a reality. So we'll touch on all that and then some, plus some other things I found online worth talking about. So it's late Sunday night. The weekend is over. A week is about to come to an end and a new week's about to begin. So let's get this party started, people. Let's go ahead and start off with what we usually start off with here on the show. And that is, of course, the weekend box office. And we have 3 new releases in the top 5 this weekend. So we're not going to have any repeats like Super Mario Galaxy, Project Hail Mary, or Hokum. Those are all just out of the top 5 right now, but there's still 2 other movies, one of which is the number 1 movie that are still hanging in there. So let's get right to it and start off with the number 5 movie this week, and that is Billie Eilish Hit Me Hard and Soft, the tour live in 3D, an accompanying 3D concert film documenting the Manchester shows and co-directed by Billie Eilish and James Cameron. So I like to think of this as the movie that James Cameron was basically trying to help promote when he basically called Paramount and said, hey, told people, hey, Paramount needs to go buy Warner Brothers. But like, he's one of the guys that put that letter out there when Netflix was still going to buy Warner Brothers, and that kind of changed the whole thing there. So yeah, needless to say, I remember that happening, and I remember saying that I don't feel so bad about talking shit about Avatar Fire and Ash now, because yeah, you're part of the reason why Paramount and Warner Brothers are about to become one, idiot. I hope it was worth it for your $7.5 million opening weekend for this movie. I mean, this thing, I don't even know if that is a good opening for this movie in general. I mean, they were promoting it hard a couple of months ago, but not really much since then. And I guess it doesn't hurt them in the long run because it is a $20 million budgeted movie, and it did make its money back worldwide. So, and it did well with critics. So yeah, this isn't really much of a big deal for them, but for something that they were promoting as this must-see event, it really doesn't feel like this made as much money as they were hoping for, but apparently it made enough to make its budget back, so what the hell am I going to say about that? So, but let's talk about some really good movies that opened up this weekend. A really good film in the number 4 movie, The Sheep Detectives, which, this movie kind of came out of nowhere in more ways than one. This was a really, really good movie, and I'm really glad to see that the film did incredible business this weekend. Brought in $15.9 million with a budget of $75 million. That seems like it's a bit much, but worldwide it's up to $28 million, and the word of mouth on this movie has been excellent. The reviews have been fantastic for this. The film has an A- cinema score, so there is hope that this film will find its audience over the next couple of weeks with the with the summer, with the long legs that it has overall. This thing could have the long legs because I'm gonna tell people to go see this movie, man. This was such a delightfully enjoyable, fun family film. I mean, I was talking about between Super Mario Galaxy and Mandalorian and Grogu that there wasn't any other big family films out there, but this is technically a family film, even though it involves one character getting murdered, but regardless, it's a really fun movie, man. I enjoyed this a lot. It's a it mixes Shaun and the Sheep meets Knives Out meets Babe all into one, and it is just such a fun, silly, and also emotionally heartfelt movie, man. It's a great movie. One I highly recommend checking out if you haven't seen it yet. It's definitely one worth the watch. Yeah, it's one I'm going to keep recommending because it's definitely a film that needs to be seen by more and more people. It's one of the best movies It's my second favorite movie of the year, behind Project Hail Mary. That's how much I love this movie. It's just such a great film. So there you go. Chief Detectives. Hopefully it'll stick around over the next couple of weeks. But moving on to number 3, we have Michael still hanging in there with $36.5 million in the number 3 spot. 33% drop off from last weekend, bringing its 3-week total now to $240.5 million. Worldwide, it's up to $577 million. It is the highest grossing biopic of all time, which, not really much of a shocker. The shocker is that the movie's no damn good. I mean, again, we could talk about the fact that the rest of the movie is a safe and marketable piece of garbage, even though the main performance by the title character is by the leading actor, but as the title character is great and the visuals look impressive, but they don't make a good movie. And sadly, Michael is not a good movie. I don't care. I don't care what people need to see. People need to hear this. I'm sorry, it's not a good movie. So yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks, but The Chief Detectives was a great movie to kind of buck that trend, and especially the number 2 movie this week was another great film to really buck that trend, and that is, of course, Mortal Kombat 2, which brought in $40 million, did $17 million better than the previous movie did, which, again, that was a movie that was both in theaters and streaming on HBO Max at the same time when Warner Brothers was doing that. Worldwide, it's brought in $63 million, which is good news for that $80 million budget for it. And the film was just an awesome movie. This was the Mortal Kombat movie we have been waiting for ever since the beginning. This is about as close to perfect of a Mortal Kombat movie as you can get. It's a terrific film, and really benefiting from Karl Urban coming in as Johnny Cage. The fact that this felt more like what you wanted to see from a Mortal Kombat movie in general. The fights are great, the gore is great, the cheesy video game dialogue is top notch. It's just a good, fun time, and I really do feel like that's been missing from the other Mortal Kombat movies. They're not quite perfect yet, but they are definitely heading in the right direction here. Hopefully, this film doing better than the last movie will give the studio, will allow the studio to give these filmmakers more free reign to do whatever they want to do with it, man. Because yeah, this is about as good as we've gotten so far. It can only get better from here. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our number 1 movie of the week. Not surprisingly, for the second week in a row, The Devil Wears Prada 2, which brought in $43 million this weekend, bringing its 2-week total to $144.8 million. Worldwide, it's already closing in on $500 million, so it has already made about as close to the original film as... I think it's close to the original film's domestic gross total after just 2 weeks. And again, not really much of a shocker in terms of the movie holding up as well as it is, because Mother's Day weekend, this movie apparently had a big Sunday, which is unusual for a film like this. I mean, on Friday, Mortal Kombat 2 beat this movie with $17 million, and Devil Wears Prada 2 had $9.8 million. But as the weekend went on, the numbers did get better, and by Sunday it was at $18 million overall, which is really good for that movie. But then again, it's Mother's Day, so of course the mothers are going to go out to see it. But the final, it has already well surpassed the total of the first Mortal Kombat, the Devil Wears Prada movie, excuse me. But yeah, it's already surpassed the first Devil Wears Prada movie. So yeah, not really much of a shocker that it was the number 1 film, but come on, Mortal Kombat 2 was the much better film. I'm sorry, Mortal Kombat 2 was a much better sequel than the Devil Wears Prada 2. More people are going to remember Mortal Kombat 2 than they will Devil Wears Prada 2. Just plain and simple. That's just what it's going to be. And, yeah, probably more than likely, I mean, I don't know, maybe Mortal Kombat 2 might be number 1 next weekend, but I'm going to put my money on maybe Devil Wears Prada 2 still hanging in there. It's going to be close. It's going to be a tough matchup overall between these two movies. There's nothing really big coming out this weekend to make me say that, oh, that film's going to be number 1. You got stuff like Obsession, which could do very well for a new horror film. It's opening up the same weekend Final Destination Bloodlines did. I hope they're not expecting it to make that much money, but we also have Is God Is, In the Gray. Shrek is getting a re-release in theaters this weekend. Nothing too big or too significant to make me say that, oh, this is going to give The Devil Wears Prada 2 and Mortal Kombat 2 a run for its money. No, I think it's going to be a very soft weekend in general at the box office. But before we get to Memorial Day weekend with The Mandalorian and Grogu being the big movie that's going to be taking up a lot of the box office that weekend, I would think. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next weekend. But anyway, not really much of a shocker overall, but it is interesting to see 3 brand new releases in the top 5 this weekend at the box office, with Mortal Kombat 2 leading the charge. So, there you go. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to some news stories from the past week. And ONG Robs, folks, guess what it is? It's another sequel nobody was asking for, but we're going to make it anyway. Hocus Pocus 3 is in the works, because Hocus Pocus 2 clearly was a film that needed to exist, and let alone a third film, but lo and behold, that's apparently what they're going to do here, but they're going to fix the biggest problem with this movie, and the fact that, this one's going to be in theaters. The biggest problem is because that was the biggest problem with Hocus Pocus 2, not the fact that it was a pointless sequel that didn't need to exist, but anyway, this comes from Deadline Hollywood, and it says that Hocus Pocus 3 is officially in early development from Disney Live Action Studios, which stars Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Captain the Jimmy reprising their roles as the Sanders sisters. We understand that the plans are for a theatrical distribution component this time around, following the success of 2022 straight-to-streaming Hocus Pocus 2, available exclusively on Disney+. However, the studio declined to comment as the project is still in its infancy. News of a third installment of the Bewitching film was announced in 2023 by Sean Bailey, the former president of Walt Disney Studios Motion Picture Productions. After Bailey's exit from Disney in 2024, Hocus Pocus 3 was left in limbo. It's been just shy of 3 years since talks of the new script reached a fever pitch, after Midler received a brilliant script and revealed a brilliant script was ready, but producers were working out all the logistical things before they can return to complete the trilogy. Sources tell me that the Holton negotiations came down to salary negotiations with Midler, Park, and the Jimmy, all of which have been worked out. Plot details for Hocus Pocus 3 are under wraps. Released in 1993, Hocus Pocus is set on a Halloween night with 3 17th century witches resurrected in Salem, Massachusetts, hundreds of years after their heyday, without missing a beat. The trio attempts to steal the life essence from the town's children so they can have eternal life. The logline for Hocus Pocus 2, it's been 29 years since someone lit the black flame candle and resurrected the 17th century sisters, and they are looking for revenge. Now it is up to 3 high school students to stop the ravenous witches from wreaking a new kind of havoc on Salem before dawn on All Hallows Eve. So, in other words, it's the same goddamn movie as the last film. Which is what this new movie is going to be. I'm sorry. I really do not like this, that this is the world that we live in now, where every single franchise has to be rebooted for a sequel that has been demanded by the audiences. But yeah, because there was clearly a demand for The Devil Wears Prada 2, and there's clearly a demand for Practical Magic 2. I'm sorry. You're not going to convince me otherwise that these movies are not being made by people who actually want to continue the storylines because they want to see these characters again in a new story. No, they want the money that's coming from this. I am still fully convinced that there is an AI out there or ChatGPT that's just mounting out all these scripts, and that is for sequels that are completely unnecessary and do not need to be made. Like, you can't convince me of that. And as I said before with The Devil Wears Prada 2, I cannot wait for that bubble to finally burst when there's just way too many of these movies and people are just not going to show up to these movies. It's going to get to that point, people. And yeah, you may not want to admit it now. You want to keep getting at me for saying, oh, why do you have to be so negative about this whole thing? Let people have their fun. Let people work. These people need jobs too. Okay, give them jobs on movies that are actually necessary. Give them some original stuff. Do something new or creative. Don't go back to the well and keep doing these same sequels over and over again. Especially something like Hocus Pocus, which is one of the most overrated films ever made. I'm sorry. The first Hocus Pocus movie sucks. It is a terrible movie, and as much as I love the actresses involved in that movie, that film is not fun at all. It's boring. It's not funny at all. It's lame. It's a waste of all these people's talents. Have you got the point yet? I really don't like these movies. I don't like that they're making another one, but fortunately, I'm not the one that's basically telling them what to do here, because I'm just part of that minority that, I'm part of that minority that doesn't want to see more of these movies, but apparently everyone else wants to because the demand is there. I can't take it anymore, man. But sadly, I'm I'm not going to be the thing that's going to cause these studios to stop making these movies, unfortunately. Everyone else has to, but that bubble is not going to burst anytime soon. I want it to burst soon, but sadly it's not. So let's get to a franchise that I think should continue, and I think what they were doing with this is going to be a fun idea, except for the fact that they're apparently abandoning something that they had set up already with the last film. And that is that Matt Shankman is going to be apparently helping to bring a new Planet of the Apes movie to life. Again, this is from Deadline Hollywood. It says, after helping to relaunch Marvel's Fantastic Four franchise with First Steps, director Matt Shankman and writer Josh Freeman are getting a shot at another high-profile IP. Sources tell Deadline that Shankman is set to direct an untitled Planet of the Apes movie at 20th Century, with Freeman penning the script. Shankman will also produce with longtime Apes producers Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver. Plot details are being kept under wraps, other than the film will mark a return to the planet where the apes are the superior species ruling all. Now, here is where I have a lot of questions about this. While not confirmed, sources tell Deadline that this will not be a continuation of the most recent pick, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but of a new original story that Shankman and Freeman are developing. Freeman also penned the script alongside Silva and Jaffa. So that is where I have some questions here, because I thought Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was supposed to start a new trilogy in and of itself. I mean, the movie was a big hit, both critically and financially, so I can't see why they're deciding to go ahead and just completely abandon what Wes Ball and his crew had set up with that film in general. I mean, it just makes no sense overall. I hope it's not so. I hope this isn't true, because yeah, that last movie kind of seems pointless now, if that's the case here, but has not been confirmed yet. But it also does kind of make you wonder, does that mean there's going to be another Planet of the Apes? There's going to be two different Planet of the Apes series going on with that series going on, or are they just abandoning that altogether? It just makes no sense to do it that way. But, I mean, to their credit, though, I am willing to give this one a shot, because I think there is a lot you can do if they continue with this motif that they've been going on with the Planet of the Apes movies. That started, of course, in 2011 with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and what they did with Andy Serkis as Caesar, back when Andy Serkis actually was seen as a respectable actor and not the idiot that made Animal Farm. But yeah, overall, I mean, I'm excited to see it, no question about it. But it's just that little thing that's got me worried is, why are they doing another series in general? Did they just, like, I mean, it'd be one thing if this was a standalone film, but it's clear if you watch the end of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, they were setting it up for another film in the series to continue the story. But I don't know. I mean, it just feels weird to just start a new franchise, start a new story with these characters, and then do another story altogether in another series of films completely unrelated to that first one. It just makes no sense to me. But again, it hasn't been officially confirmed yet, and we probably won't get official confirmation of this until probably D23 later this year. That's probably will be where the first thing that we'll hear about this is going to be at. But yeah, I'm like a Val Kilmer in Batman Forever. It just raises so many questions about where we're going with this. But I don't know. It could be fun. The last couple Planet of the Apes movies have been good, so I'm willing to give it a shot no matter what. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. We have a couple stories from the world of television. So this week, of course, is the fall schedule announcements. I think NBC will start it off tomorrow, then Fox, then CBS has already announced their schedule on last month, and then ABC will do it on Tuesday. So I think we're only going to get 2 days, because I think NBC and Fox will announce tomorrow, or by the time you listen to this later today, because that's what it usually is. As far as I know, that hasn't changed, and I know ABC will go on Tuesday, and then we'll hear more what CBS has for the fall on Wednesday, even though their schedule's been out already for the last month. But Fox is already looking ahead to 2027. We already talked about the Stewie spinoff, the Family Guy spinoff with Stewie Griffin for 2027, and we got another project that is in the works for 2027, and in fact, gotten a series order pickup for 2027. That is, of course, Highway to Heaven. Of course, that show from the 1980s where, if you don't remember Highway to Heaven, it was the story about the story of Highway to Heaven centered around an angel played by Michael Landon, who starred Jonathan Smith, who was an angel in probation sent to Earth by the boss, God, to do good deeds. And you had Victor French co-starring as Mark Gordon, a retired policeman who travels with Smith to help him with his assignment. So it was kind of a precursor to a little bit to a Quantum Leap in a way, except instead of Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell, it was, well, Michael Landon and Victor French. But But Fox has this new version coming up, and it says here, as Fox is getting ready to launch a reboot of one of its 1980s TV series Baywatch this season, because the Baywatch series has already been set up for to premiere next year, so we'll find out later today where it's going to be placed on the schedule. But the network is bringing back another classic 80s TV title, Highway to Heaven, for the following season. Fox has ordered a new take on Michael Landon's Highway to Heaven from writer-producer Jason Katims, who gave us great shows like Friday Night Lights, Parenthood, About a Boy, Amblin Television, and Michael Landon Productions to premiere during the 2027-28 season. This contemporary reimagining is produced by Fox Entertainment Studios and owned by Fox as part of its push to control a significant portion of its content. It will be distributed worldwide by Fox Entertainment Global. The new series will keep the original's uplifting emotional storytelling and themes of compassion, humanity, and second chances while putting an original spin on its premise of a probationary angel who is sent to Earth to earn his wings by helping people in need. Highway to Heaven taps into the current popularity of lighter, feel-good programming, possibly fueled by what is going on in the world. This trend has viewers gravitating towards shows with adventure and optimism. Fox got into that lane a couple years ago and has found success there with such series as Doc, Murder in a Small Town, and the fully owned Best Medicine, a streak it is looking to continue with Baywatch. So, like I said, Highway to Heaven is a show that they're working on right now, but truth be told, I never watched the original Highway to Heaven. It was on it ended just as I was coming into the world, and I think in 1989, and I never really saw the show itself when it was on the air. So I really don't know for certain about how good the show was or not. But it was Michael Landon's follow up to Little House on the Prairie. Had a successful run on overall, running for like 5-6 seasons on NBC, and I mean, it didn't look like a bad show overall. It looked like the type of family drama that something like Little House on the Prairie kind of benefited from overall. So I can't really say if it was any good or not, but it would be kind of interesting to see a contemporary take on that overall. So, not much more to say about that one, but we did get some other TV news just as the fall schedules are about to come out this week. ABC completed the sweep this week, renewing every scripted series on their schedule this week. So, they renewed R.J. Decker, the new show with Scott Speedman involved in it. But that means that every show on the schedule for all the returning series from this season will be back next year. So you're talking about Abbott Elementary, High Potential, The Rookie, Scrubs, Shifting Gears. What's another? Grey's Anatomy, 911, 911 Nashville. Many of those shows all coming back. Will Trent. So yeah, there's not a full any new shows, any old shows ending this season, which is really, really rare overall, and hopefully a sign that we're heading back into more scripted territory overall. Now, as far as the pilots are concerned, I think the only show that is likely getting picked up is the Rookie North, the spin-off to the Rookie, because they also had another comedy series on ABC, but with Rachel Bloom that got canceled. But the pilot didn't go through, I should say. It didn't really get canceled, but yeah, actually, come to think of it, I don't think ABC has other comedy pilots available right now, as far as I know. I'd have to double-check on that. Give me 1 second. So all in all, ABC brought back 10 of its current scripted shows. As I mentioned, R.J. Decker, both of the 911 shows, Abbott Elementary, Grey's Anatomy, High Potential, The Rookie, Scrubs, Shifting Gears, and Will Trent. They have only one pilot that is likely going to get picked up, which is The Rookie North, and that's it. They only had 2 pilots picked up, pilots in the works at ABC, and as far as I know, those are the only 2 pilots they have working on, and like I said, The Rookie North is the only one that feels like it's going to get picked up. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how ABC handles the schedule when it gets released. I think it's going to be mostly those shows, instead of those shows the new shows that they could have on there, besides possibly The Rookie North. It'll probably be more like Monday Night Football, The Wonderful World of Disney, The Bachelor, American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, just reality shows galore, because, yeah, apparently that's the direction we're going with now. But moving over to, where am I going next? Moving over to NBC. NBC made some critical moves to their schedule as they'll get ready to announce it tomorrow. Law & Order did get renewed for another season, so Law & Order is not going to have another quick cancellation for a show that has been on the air for 20-plus years like that happened the last time around, so it's going to continue on. As far as I know, there is nothing about a final season yet, so I think it's going to stay for the long haul right now, but they did pick up 4 shows in general, so NBC is going to have a jam-packed lineup this season. The shows they picked up were the Rockford Files reboot with David Boreanaz, Line of Fire, which follows a family of federal law enforcement officers caught up in a conspiracy. There's also two comedies they picked up, Sunset P.I. starring Jake Johnson, and Newlyweds with Téa Leoni and Tim Daly. And it was a pretty big deal for NBC to pick up some shows. They had like 8 pilots that were in the works and passed on Key Witness starring David Boreanaz's Bones co-star Emily Deschanel, Puzzled starring Damon Wayans Jr., What the Dead Know starring Taylor Schilling, and an untitled comedy which was set to star Jane Lynch and Katie Seagal. But 4 shows did get picked up overall over at NBC. And I actually got the list here from the Hollywood Reporter talking about the scoreboard for what shows are going to be picked up. So just to kind of give you a heads up for starting tomorrow, I mentioned all the shows picked up at ABC. Unscripted shows include American Idol, America's Funniest Home Videos, The Bachelorette, Celebrity Jeopardy, Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, Dancing with the Stars, The Golden Bachelor, The Greatest Average American, Shark Tank. No pilots have been ordered to series as of yet. As far as scripted shows go, we kind of covered this already with the fall schedule released last month, I should say. Boston Blue, CIA renewed, DMV canceled, Elsbeth renewed, FBI, Fire Country, George and Mandy's First Marriage, Ghost, Marshals, Matlock, NCIS, NCIS Origins, NCIS Sydney, Sheriff Country, and Tracker all are coming back next year. The Neighborhood is canceled after 8 seasons. Watson is canceled after 2 seasons. On scripted shows, The Amazing Race, American's Culinary Cup, Harlan Cohen's Final Twist, Hollywood Squares, The Price is Right at Night, The Road, Survivor, series order pickups, Cupertino, Einstein, Eternally Yours, and CIS New York. Over at Fox, of course, American Dad, Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, and The Simpsons are all renewed through 2029. Animal Control was renewed, so was Best Medicine. Doc was renewed. Going Dutch has been canceled. Grimsburg has a 3rd season that still is yet to debut. Krapopolis still has a 5th season on the way. Memory of a Killer has been renewed, as has Murder in a Small Town and Universal Basic Guys. Unscripted shows, 99 to Beat, Celebrity Weakest Link, Extracted, Farmer Wants a Wife, Fear Factor House of Fear, The Floor, Hell's Kitchen, The Masked Singer, Name That Tune, Next Level Chef, Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. And a series order for 2026, 27 or later. Baywatch, Stewie, The Interrogator, Marriage Market, Highway to Heaven. And NBC, the shows they have picked up. Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago PD will be back next year. So will The Fall and Rise of Reggie Dinkins, which I'm glad to see about that. That was the one show I was really focused on, hoping that would come back for another season. Happy's Place is back. Law and Order is back. So is SVU. St. Denis Medical is coming back. The Hunting Party is still the only show, I think, that has yet to be decided on its fate overall. Stumble has been canceled after 1 season. Unscripted shows, On Brand with Jimmy Fallon, I think, is coming back. So is The Voice, so is The Wall. And the series that have been ordered for 2026, Line of Fire, Newlyweds, The Rockford Files, and Sunset P.I. So there you go. That's everything that we know so far about what's getting picked up. And of course, next week when we meet back here, we'll run through the fall schedules for all the networks overall. So give you kind of an idea of what's going to be what going into next year. So let's move on to the last movie story I want to cover for this week. And that is that DC has apparently found its director, supposedly, for its Deathstroke and Bane movie, which I had no idea they were even making, but apparently they are. And this is going back to Deadline Hollywood for this one. It says here, we are hearing that Greg Mottola, who is already in the DC Studios family, having helmed episodes of Peacemaker, is a frontrunner to potentially direct the upcoming Deathstroke and Bane feature. There are others in the mix. Triple note that it's still very early days on this project. A script hasn't come in yet, and no contracts have been papered yet, as the project remains in development. Word of a Deathstroke and Bane movie began in September 2024 under the James Gunn and Peter Safran-led DC Studios. The initial screenplay reportedly was penned by Matthew Orton, who wrote for the Marvel Studios Disney Plus series Moon Knight. If Mottola ends up being the choice, Orton would likely do the rewrite for him. The villain combo movie would put the breathing apparatus Batman baddie Bane back on the big screen for his first appearance since 2012's Christopher Nolan directed The Dark Knight Rises, then portrayed by Tom Hardy. The character was created by Chuck Dixon, Doug Moench, Graham Nolan, and first appeared in Batman Vengeance of Bane #1 in January of 1993. In the comics, Bane was born and raised in the Pinaduro prison of the Caribbean island of Santa Prisca. He's the son of King Snake and was a test subject for a super steroid known as Venom. After breaking out of prison, he ventures to Gotham and gets entangled with Batman, breaking the Dark Knight's back, a moment known as breaking the Bat. Bad guy Deathstroke debuted as Deathstroke the Terminator in 1980's The New Teen Titans #2 from scribe Marty Wolfman and artist George Perez, aka Slade Joseph Wilson. Deathstroke is a former U.S. Army soldier and mercenary who is further boosted following a super soldier serum. He's battled Dick Grayson and the Teen Titans, Batman, Green Arrow, and the Justice League. He's added up with the Titans and swearing revenge for his oldest son, Grant. His other two kids, Joseph and Rose, would go on to oppose him by joining the Titans. Esai Morales has voiced Deathstroke in the Titans live-action series, with Joe Manganiello making cameos as the bad guy in the Zack Snyder DC titles. Mottola is an executive producer and director on the new Peacock series The Miniature Wife, starring Elizabeth Banks and Matthew McFadden. He's directed such comedy movies as Adventureland, Superbad, and The Day Trippers. DC could not be reached for comment. Mottola is rep by UTA and Sloan, Offer, Weber, and Dern. So yeah, like I said, I didn't even know about this movie's existence until just now. But considering the direction of DC overall, doing these type of movies that don't feel like films they should probably be, that would probably be made over in the old Zack Snyder era, I think they're really going to take a look and see how Clayface does this coming October, which the movie for that looks incredible. The trailer was pretty damn good. I mean, it was a damn good, scary-looking trailer, and hopefully that means that movie's going to be pretty good. Hopefully they're not going to leave the best stuff in the trailer there, but I think they're going to see what happens on that, see if that's going to work out overall, and if it does, hey, they'll probably move this quicker into production, but if it doesn't, it probably doesn't get made. It probably is going to be one of those movies that I could do my little, will it get past the Paramount Warner Brothers merger? And if I was to say that, I'd probably say right now, probably not, since I don't think Deathstroke and Bane are household names that could probably work for a movie in general on their own. But then again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as the weeks and months to come. Maybe it will work. Who knows? But that's all I got to say about that one. So one more thing I want to cover here, and we can get on out of here. This will be kind of another quick week for stuff in general, but this one I did want to talk about because we had two major lotteries happen this weekend. Or I should say two lotteries this week, because technically the NHL draft lottery was held on Tuesday, and today we had the NBA draft lottery, which I'll say this, the NBA draft lottery runs their thing much better than the NHL draft lottery, and I'm going to explain why in just a second here. But yeah, the NHL draft lottery that was just such a mess to sit through this past week. I mean, Jesus. But I'll touch on that in just a little bit here. But like I said, the NBA draft lottery was today. The Washington Wizards won the number one pick, which was not really surprising because they were the top team to potentially get the number one pick, and it's very rare for the draft lottery to actually give the number one pick to the team that everyone was expecting it to go to. I mean, you can look back in the history of all the teams that were in the draft lottery, in the NBA draft lottery, and it was basically teams that did not eventually get the number one pick. But I was watching a couple of the older ones getting ready for the one coming up this week. But the Washington Wizards won the draft lottery. They get the number one pick, and supposedly this 2026 NBA draft class is going to be filled with the most prominent talent in the draft since the 1996 NBA draft. If you remember the 96 NBA draft, that was a draft that included such notable names as Allen Iverson, Steve Nash. Who else? There was a lot of other notable names, but the biggest name to come out of that was obviously a young man by the name of Kobe Bryant, who was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets before eventually being traded over to the Los Angeles Lakers, and the rest is history. But Allen Iverson was the number one pick in that. I think I said that name before, but if I didn't, I'm sorry. But so yeah, we'll see what happens on that front there. But I will say this though. The big question mark I had about the NBA draft lottery today is that why were the draftees there? They put this in a big area, like it was actually the draft itself. It was on the I don't want to say it was big because it was at the Navy Pier in Chicago, Illinois. I've never been to Chicago, so I don't know how big exactly it is, but it was weird to see all the top draftees there. Like, they're not being drafted today. Like, you could have just had them at their homes and all that, but no, they had them all in this big building. They were there with their mothers because, of course, Mother's Day was today. So I'm guessing the only reason they had them there with their mothers so they can do a little special thing for Mother's Day and all that, but But yeah, there you go. But if you're wondering, by the way, who reportedly is going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft, I think the biggest name they were talking about was what was his name? The guy from where was he from? BYU, AJ DeBonsa from BYU, a forward. And another name that everyone's tossing around, Cameron Boozer is from Duke. Chicago Bulls got the number 4 pick. That's the only NBA team I really care about, honestly, because I live in Pittsburgh. I don't really have an NBA team to root for around here, and I don't really want to root for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I still root for the Chicago Bears because that was my introduction to the NBA, the days of the Michael Jordan era. So, yeah, my money is. I'm hoping that Cameron Boozer drops into their hands. Supposedly they do really like him, but I don't know. We'll see what happens on that front there. But it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out next month when the draft happens. The draft happens, by the way, on June 23rd for round 1, and then June 24th is round 2. So, but let's turn our attention now to the NHL draft lottery because this was this. I don't know when they changed the rules for the draft lottery here, but I gotta say, I hope that this isn't the way this is a new thing they've started with, because let me tell you, the way they did it this time around was pretty bad. I mean, it was pretty, it wasn't worth it in the long run. They made that they basically made that more of an issue than it needed to be, and I'm going to explain why. So if you watch the NHL Draft Lottery on Tuesday night, it was a half-hour thing they did just before one of the Stanley Cup playoff games. And so they had a big thing in the NHL studio. But the thing that was really odd about this whole thing was that they started this off by doing the top 4 picks in the NHL Draft Lottery. They basically... It was really weird because they basically did they have a system where they have all these lottery numbers, and I guess they are all connected based on the number of different balls each team had and all that. But the way they did it was really, really odd. And I don't really catch up with the NHL Draft Lottery that often, but yeah, this was just a bizarre way of doing this here. So I'm going to show you the thing they did, because they started this off by doing the top 4, number 4 through number 1, and that's really the only thing that people really give a crap about overall. But they went ahead and decided to do 2 different drawings. They decided to do the top 4 first, and then they decided to do the other 12 teams in. I think it's 16. The other 12 teams in the draft lottery at that point. But I've got the video right here, so let's go ahead and take a listen to this real quick.
As each lottery ball is drawn, you'll see the odds change and which teams are eliminated in real time. So the time has come. Mr. Commissioner, please get our first draw started.
Alex, please release the balls into the machine.
He's release the balls.
And please start the machine.
I mean, this isn't a bad idea overall to do but here's the thing. You know, you should do this to be the big thing that builds up to this should be the second drawing. This should not be the first drawing to see the first 4 picks being selected. It's like having sex, and it's just like you're coming first before you actually have the sex. It's just like what was it? I remember someone once said, you don't come first and then have the sex. You have to build up to it. That's kind of like what it is here. Probably not, but you get the idea. But there is releasing of balls here, so there you go.
And so again,
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Tonight. The first one for the first overall pick, and then we'll do it again for the second overall pick.
Thomas, please start the clock.
And this thing kind of bugs me too, the whole 15-second time limit thing that they have here. You have 16 balls that you have to bring out of here, and it's just like 15 seconds. That doesn't seem like it's a long time, but in a case like this, when you just want to see who's going to be the number 1 pick, who's going to be the number 1 pick overall, and not to mention that they have 2 different drawings here, and then they have to do this for the longer second drawing that comes after this. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just feels really unnecessary to do it this way. I hope this is just a new thing that they're trying out here, and people really don't like the way it's being done. But then again, nobody's going to really change anything just because this one guy here that's talking right now is telling them they should do it. But
so 15 seconds. 8-0. The balls will mix around into the machine. And again, as each ball is drawn, you'll see the odds change next to each team.
Draw. Number 7.
Ball number 1 is a lucky number 7. No one has been eliminated. As you can see, Vancouver actually ticks up a bit to 19.9.
I mean, the idea of this really isn't that bad of an idea, having these random coded numbers giving you an indication of who's going to be the team that eventually gets the number 1 pick. But again, it's just the way that they did it. Like, this is something that should have been done after the second drawing. But the second drawing should have been first. First drawing should have been second.
Thomas, start the clock, please.
And again, like, it should be like once the ball drops, once the ball comes out, then they should start another timer thing. So, you know, speed it along here. I mean, it's ridiculous.
10 big spots, which they would love to do.
Draw. Number 2.
A 7 and a 2. We're halfway there. What happens now?
So with that, Washington was eliminated, and so St. Louis was also eliminated. So they would get 15 and 16.
Good move for the Rangers. Look at Seattle.
I'm going to kind of speed this along here so I can get you the other 2 numbers.
So here comes
11 is the next number, number 3.
Whoa.
So it took a lot of teams out of there. So Columbus Blue Jackets were 14, Islanders were 13, Devils were 12, St. Louis again was 11, and Nashville was 10, and Florida was also set at 8. So there's still 8 teams left there. But let me see if I can get to the last one here. Try to speed this along because
Chicago to win the draft.
So they have all these numbers here that has to be drawn for the team, for whichever team gets the number 1 pick. So it says Vancouver has 3 numbers, 1, 5, and 13, which should give them the best chance to get the number 1 pick. Chicago needs a 6. New York Rangers have 2 chances at it, 9 and 14. Everyone else is just 1 chance. Calgary needs a 10. Toronto needs a 12. Seattle needs a 4. Winnipeg needs 8, and San Jose needs 3.
Lottery. Ball.
So here it is right here, the last number.
Pick of the draft.
Draw.
And you can see it's a number 12.
Wow.
Number 12.
The number 12, the Toronto Maple Leafs have won the NHL Draft Lottery, and Matt Sundin is...
I love the fact that they make this seem like it's the biggest deal ever. It's just like, wow, this is unbelievable. It's just like, no, it's pure luck, what it really is. And I love the fact that people always say that, you know, this thing is rigged. It's just like, is it really that rigged? Like, I really don't know how you're expecting to rig this type of a thing in general, because it's like, this isn't like back in the day during the, you know, when Patrick Ewing won the Knicks were able to draft him with the number 1 pick in 1985, because everyone was talking about, you know, the bent envelope inside the thing. This isn't that type of thing whatsoever. It's just like, they're lottery balls. Like, what do they expect these lottery balls to do? It's just pure coincidence, really. But I mean, it's just pure luck at this point. I mean, that's what it is. Like, again, the idea of it really isn't that bad. It's just the way that they set this whole thing up. Just the fact that what we just saw, the first draw, should have been the thing that was building up to. Like, at that point, when Toronto wins the number 1 pick, it's just kind of like, why should I even stick around here? Like, who cares what the second draw is going to be like? And then they do the whole thing again, just like, let's have 15 more seconds to figure out the 12 spots right here. It's just like, why? Like, again, you mixed the whole thing up here, and I'm going off on this really because just simply and effectively, I think it's a real bad way to like hype everybody up for this particular thing. It just makes no sense. And then when they finally do the second drawing and because they do 4 numbers there, and then they basically have to decide, you know, by records and all that type of stuff, and it's just kind of like, I mean, it makes no sense. It just really made no sense to do it this way, and, you know, it just, I don't know, like, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's not even that, it wasn't even for the 12 picks overall. It was basically, you know, they were basically deciding what was going to be essentially the spot for the 2 through 16. I guess it was the 15 picks after the number 1 pick. But again, something that you should have done first, and then do the number 1 pick afterwards. Do it like the NBA draft lottery does it. The NBA draft lottery does build it up. Like, they build it up starting from number 13 and going all the way to the top 4. And then they take a break, and then they go to the top 4 to figure out, which order is going to be what. And yeah, that's the way I think you should do it with the NBA draft lottery. Don't do it this way. I mean, do it this way, but just don't do it where you do the big drawing first and then do the consolation prize drawing afterwards. I just feel like it's a stupid idea overall. But like I said, I was watching some of the older NBA draft lottery things to get ready for today's NBA draft lottery. And I gotta say, man, there is a lot of fun in watching those old NBA draft lotteries. And I'll give you kind of an example of that right now, since we got a little bit of time to work with here. I feel like I kind of gave you some bum information on the full draft order for the NHL draft. So I'll just go through it real quickly before we move on to the next thing. The Toronto Maple Leafs have the number 1 pick. San Jose has the number 2 pick. That was what the second draw was all about. Then they did it by, I believe it was records for each team. So it was Vancouver at 3, Chicago at 4, the Rangers at 5, Calgary at 6, Seattle at 7, Winnipeg at 8, Florida at 9, Nashville at 10, St. Louis at 11, New Jersey at 12, the New York Islanders at 13, Columbus at 14, St. Louis at 15, and Washington at 16. So there you go. That's the draft order for the NHL draft. Everybody got that? Okay, let's move on to the other thing I want to talk about. Not really something else I want to talk about here. Just something else nothing that we seriously need to talk about here. Just something that I kind of thought was worth bringing up here about the NBA draft lottery and what it used to be like. Like, I do like the kind of complicated and yet simplistic nature of what the NBA draft lottery used to be. Like, I was watching, if you go online to YouTube, they have a whole bunch of different various NBA draft lottery moments from like 1989, the 1980s, when they had the old system, and then they had the 90s system that they worked with here. They have a whole bunch of different ones with from the 80s with the ones where they put the envelopes inside this ball that you would see like in a bingo game. Like, they roll around a couple of times, and they would have each of the representing teams that were available that were being selected in the drafting, picking up a random envelope, and that's how they would pick what the number 1 pick is going to be. Like, there is simply a kind of a fun thing about that whole thing in general. I think the biggest thing with the 85 draft was that the reason why that envelope bent was because those cards they had in there were like so small. They were smaller than the actual envelopes. But there is kind of a fun thing about opening those envelopes and seeing which team was going to be which. That's something I kind of felt like that was missing for the last couple of years. They brought it back today when they did the 2026 draft lottery. And I think that's something that they should bring back more and more with the NBA draft lottery. But I mean, it's a fun thing to think about, honestly. But like, I do like this whole idea of having the people representing each team coming in and just picking a random envelope, and that's how they did this back in the day.
2 years, a runner-up. An envelope away from you, an envelope. The envelopes representing picks 4 through 9.
So what they basically did while they were having all the people picking the envelopes up here is that the last 3 that they had in there, those were the top 3 picks, and then on the side they would have like these 6 other cards, and those would be the teams that would get 4 through 9, and then they would basically reorder them from their season records for the year before. But again, this is good. This is a good build-up thing that they used to do back in the day. I really do want to know where they get these envelopes at. I mean, these are like big envelopes.
Dallas Mavericks.
Because I know when they did it recently, they had they look like envelopes, but they were really like things where you like flipped them over, like how the side cards are just like, look at this image and tell me what it looks like to you, that kind of thing.
Washington Bullets.
And there was also kind of this fun thing of just watching all these people getting disappointed by the fact that they're not in the play for the number 1 pick.
Charlotte Hornets.
Well, again, you can still get that today, but this one in particular is from the 1989 NBA draft that you're listening to right now, the NBA draft lottery.
Miami Heat. So that leaves San Antonio, LA, and Sacramento. The 6 logos on the board are now being arranged in reverse order of the one-loss record of the teams. And there they are, sitting together. As you can see, Hornets will this one. The third pick in the 1989 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs. That leaves the Clippers and Sacramento. The second pick in the 1989 NBA draft goes to the Los Angeles Clippers. And that means that the first pick in the 1989 NBA draft belongs to, if I'm right, the Sacramento Kings. And he's right.
I miss David Stern, man. I mean, Adam Silver's not as bad as I think people make him out to be as far as like the commissioner overall. But there was just a fun factor when David Stern was the NBA commissioner. Like, I remember in the 1990 NBA draft, like when the Minnesota Timberwolves were on the draft lottery, he made a mistake by calling them the Minnesota North Stars, and everyone was laughing about that in a fun way too, not like making fun. Just like it's a simple mistake. Like I miss these times, man. I really do miss these times in general. But I digress. Actually, but yeah, like I said, they were fun times overall, and I would really like to see the draft lottery maybe go back to that kind of a fun format overall. I think it's gonna be hard to do now. Not that the NBA one that is working right now is working, but yeah, it's just I miss this. I miss old stuff like this, man. This is the time period I grew up with, the early '90s. You know, when NBC first had the NBA and all that. Just good times, man. Just good times. So, I do have one more thing I kind of want to bring up here. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but then I saw the video of the corner. It's just like, might as well bring this up. So I saw this on the corner while I was taking a look at that draft lottery video, and I figured I might as well bring it up here. So, of course, the NFL draft was doing a lot of draft stuff this week. I know, but this really was more accident. This one thing I'm about to talk about here was more just kind of an accident in general. The other two, at least, I wanted to bring up here. But so yeah, the NFL draft was just took place about 2 weeks ago. I can't believe it's already been that way. As far as I know, there's still parts of the area downtown that are still like shut down as they're trying to clean everything up from that, if I remember correctly. But there's been videos out there since the draft happened. Jaguar Gator 9 was down there on Saturday. He had put up a video. It's all weekend, actually. He put up some videos from the draft. And UrinatingTree and 5 Points Vids were there. Of course, these are guys that you're familiar with if you know sports comedy videos on YouTube and all the sports commentary videos. They're really great stuff. If you have not seen people like Jaguar Gator, UrinatingTree, 5 Points Vids, That's Good Sports, Scooter Magruder, Tom Grossi, seek those guys out because they're really, really funny guys. They're really entertaining, and they launched a new 5 Points Vids and UrinatingTree launched a new channel called the Treehouse. And one of the first videos they put out was Yinzer at the NFL Draft. And so I was watching this video, looking at some of the highlights from the weekend in general. I knew that UrinatingTree was down there when I was down there on Saturday, as was Jaguar Gator, but I thought, they're probably way further down by the stages and all that, so that probably means there's no way I'm going to be able to see them, or they're going to be able to see me. I mean, it'd be cool to actually not meet UrinatingTree at one of these things, because I feel like our paths have to cross in some way, shape, or form. But the way I say that now, it makes me sound like a stalker. But it's just kind of like, but it's kind of like, like at some point, some accidental way will have to happen for us to have our paths cross and all that. But it turns out it was actually much closer to happening this time around than I could have imagined, because while I was watching this video, and I'm going to get the timestamp for this here. I'm actually going to put the clip in here so you can see what I'm talking about. It's about, where's this at? There's actually a couple moments in this part around here. It was around the 13-minute mark. I can get you an exact timestamp possible here. Probably at around, 13:10, I think it is. Starting at around 13:10. I want you to look closely at the corner, because I'm going to show the video is on this here. And I just want you to see if one of the two faces, one face over on the left corner of the screen looks very familiar to you. So let's go ahead and play the clip. See, look at the corner at 13:13. Look at the circle right there. Who is that person right there? Yeah, it's me. It's yours truly. It's me. And yeah, the guy in the Pouncey jersey right there, I believe that is UrinatingTree. I could be wrong on that, but I think he was wearing a Pouncey jersey there. that is I mean, I was so invested in what was going on there with what was going on with the draft in general that I couldn't put it together that Urinating Tree was literally right across from me over there. It's just like I'm looking at myself right now going like, how do you not see him? He's literally to your right. There's going to be another shot later on that's actually a better view of that in general. But this is funny though. What happened was that they were giving out these T-shirts, and they threw one right close to Urinating Tree, and I guess he I guess what happened. I guess there was a guy behind him, and it's just like Tree, I guess, accidentally bumped into him, and he shows like his leg was bleeding a little bit. The guy that caught the T-shirt.
Let's go! You all right? We're good.
Yeah, that was him in the Pouncy jersey. It's a good scrape too.
A true American hero. I can wear this to sleep. All right, the grand reveal. What is the T-shirt? It is a T-shirt.
It is a T-shirt.
It is definitely a T-shirt. I've been there. We've all been there, sir. Hey, that is a sacrifice that we're all willing to make.
And then again at the 14:05 mark, you get a clearer shot of me with my dad there, right next to the guy in the James Conner jersey, and nothing really. I didn't really want to make a big deal out of it, although basically dedicated an entire segment to the show talking about this. But I thought that was actually kind of interesting seeing that right there. Like, you could see that I am so hooked into the draft right now, and my brain couldn't put it together that somebody that I watch regularly on YouTube a lot is literally a few feet away from me from my right. And it's not the first time that somebody that I watch a lot on YouTube was close to me, and I had no idea that it was actually him. There was one other time where when we were down in Orlando, Florida on vacation, is when we went down to Disney, and I think it was at Epcot, and I saw it. We were going to one of the booths there because this was when they were having the International Food and Wine Festival, and I saw a guy that looked kind of like the Tim Tracker. If you don't know who the Tim Tracker is a guy who, he's a guy who along with his wife Jen, they visit Disney. They visit all the areas in Orlando, like mostly Disney and Universal. They've raised a family in the year since I started watching them back in 2014. But yeah, I didn't put it together around the time that this guy that looks like the Tim Tracker was the Tim Tracker, because I later saw in the video that it was literally the same area where we were at. It just kind of, and it felt like he was wearing the same clothing that I remember seeing him in. It's just like man, not anything would have really happened if I actually met these people, because I don't know. I mean, I probably would still get a little bit starstruck, even though these aren't like big Hollywood celebrities, all that type of stuff. I mean, anyone that you see a lot all the time, and you get I wouldn't be so. I'd still get a little starstruck even after all this time, regardless of who it is. It could be a big celebrity, it could be a YouTube celebrity, or YouTube somebody who does a lot of YouTube videos and all that type of stuff. I mean, yeah, I get starstruck, so yeah, sue me. But yeah, nothing really particular. I just wanted to bring that up here, and I thought that was just kind of fascinating to watch this video and see that me and my dad are literally looking at the corner, putting our focus on the draft itself instead of me looking at the corner of my right eye and realizing that this guy looks familiar. I think I've seen him. I think that's Urinating Tree right there, and I'm just I'm fully sucked into the drafted well, at this point, man, you can just see my face it's just I got it's 20/20 vision straight on the draft and all that. But anyway, yeah. So nothing really too significant to talk about with that one there. I just wanted to bring that up there. That yeah, I'm in one of the Treehouse's early videos. So yeah. So right now, 16,000 people see me right at the corner, and yeah, there you go. So take that for what you will. But anyway, let's go ahead and get some recommendations out of the way, and then we can go ahead and get on out of here. So once again, we're kind of in one of those weeks where all the big new releases came out last week, and we're kind of a lull right now before the next week when we get some more new releases. So this week is mostly catalog titles, but some pretty good catalog titles. So a lot of 4K debuts. We're getting the 4K debuts for films like Fight Club, which is getting a nice steelbook, and I pre-ordered that, so hopefully that'll be coming my way this weekend. Hopefully Disney will send it out on time instead of having to make me wait another month to get it, because that was something that happened last week with Alice in Wonderland. I pre-ordered it last month when they announced it on Amazon, because I decided to do it differently. Instead of going to Walmart, I went over to Amazon thinking, well, I'll probably get it quicker there. And when release day came around, I looked on Amazon, and it said that usually we'll ship it within 1 to 2 months. So it's just like, wait, what? Like, it's supposed to come out today. Like, it makes no sense. I really do think it's Disney doing this, and maybe it's not really Walmart's fault or Amazon's fault. It's just like, but what's interesting is that I clicked on that description again for the Alice in Wonderland 4K, and where it says delivery date, it said we'll ship within 1 week. So it was actually a much smaller waiting period for it to get to me. So I canceled my original order, put that new order in, and it said, arriving Thursday, May 14th. So it would have been coming this Thursday. It actually came to me on Saturday, and then I realized, oh, this is not Amazon bringing this out. It's another company altogether. It's like one of the, what do you call it? These little side companies that work with Amazon to put stuff out there. So I did get the Alice in Wonderland 4K yesterday. So all in all, it did come within the week of its release. So hopefully, Fight Club will not be that bad overall. As of right now, I think the current time for it to get here is Wednesday, so it might be a day late as far as according to this. But let me see. Yeah, it says arriving Wednesday, so we will see what happens. On that front there. The Speed Racer Steelbook I pre-ordered, though, is set to come out on May 20th, which is good. I was really lucky on that one, because I was just going on Amazon one night, because that Speed Racer Steelbook has been selling out like crazy, and it's still sold out. And then I see as I go to the listing on Amazon, it says that, oh, it's available to pre-order. And I thought, wait, seriously? So I pre-ordered it, and so, as far as I know, I'm getting it next week, so... But anyway, we're talking about this week's pre-orders. So one of the big ones, of course, was Fight Club getting a 4K debut. Moneyball is getting a 4K debut this week. So is Bridesmaids for the 15th anniversary of that movie. A couple of other titles coming out. Kiss Before Dying with Matt Dillon and Sean Young, which I gotta say, somebody put a clip online from that movie that I do not remember, and I would think I remember the scene where Matt Damon is pushing a woman off of a building, and she falls, she goes to this plate glass, and then she hits the ground, and as soon as she hits the ground, all this insane gonzo blood starts splattering all over the floor, and I'm just kind of like, why would I not remember this? Because this looks pretty friggin' awesome. But then again, I think it's because the rest of the movie itself is probably forgettable too, but it's a great clip. If you can find that clip online, definitely check it out and see what I'm talking about, because yeah, that was a pretty cool scene right there, but I think the rest of the movie itself was pretty forgettable. But other than that, that's about it. So if there's any real recommendations this week, I would say Fight Club, Moneyball, and Bridesmaids are the top choices that I would get in terms of physical media releases. Now, in terms of movies that I've watched recently, I gotta say, last week I gave Angel Studios a lot of shit for Animal Farm, which I really did not like. I still think of it as probably my new worst movie of all time. But there was a movie of theirs I wanted to check out that came out recently, and I gotta say, as much as the smack I gave them for Animal Farm, I will say that they did turn it around very well with Solo Mio, which was it was a movie that came out earlier in the year, got a lot of really good reviews, and I kind of wanted to see it. I mean, it's a movie where you have Kevin James starring as a guy who travels to Rome to his wedding only to be left at the altar by his fiancée. So their honeymoon package was prepaid, so he decides to simply take it for himself and encounters new friends and other married couples on the same honeymoon package and an intriguing cafe owner. You also have a role where Andrea Bocelli plays a supporting role in his first appearance in a fictional feature film, and it's basically a movie showcasing the cities of Rome and Tuscany. I guess I'm on a Tuscany roll this year, because we've had this and then Yumi and Tuscany, which I really enjoyed too. Yeah, this is a really good movie, and yeah, as much as I gave Angel Studios crap for Animal Farm, this was a nice movie. It shows what Kevin James can do when he isn't being Sandlerized to death by starring in his movies as trying to be the new Chris Farley. Like, this movie works to Kevin James' advantages as an actor. He is really good in this movie. You do buy this relationship he has with this cafe owner, and it is cool to see the cities of Rome and Tuscany, and it is very nice to look at. I'm not gonna say it's a classic movie by any means necessary, but It's a good, fun, comfort food movie. It's kind of in the same vein as something like the Queen Latifah Last Holiday movie from 2006, which I also really enjoyed. It's a good movie. It's one I highly recommend checking out. If you are somebody that isn't so sure about Angel Studios, whether or not you're going to like any of their stuff, I feel like Solo Mio is going to be that one movie that's going to be like, okay, these guys actually are making some good movies here. They haven't made the greatest movies, but this is probably the first movie where I would say, yeah, this is pretty good. This is actually a really good film from there. So I do recommend checking it out if you can find it out there. Walmart should have a copy of it on DVD at least. And a DVD is probably the best way to watch this movie. I don't think you really need to see it on Blu-ray in particular, but who knows? Maybe you want to see The City of Rome and Tuscany in Blu-ray quality. Maybe. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Reviewing Network Live for this week. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button. Check out our last episode we did, and also check out our playlist of some other episodes we've done. And with that said, I will see you guys next Sunday with another episode. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, we are out.